Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, a former House leader joins the senatorial race.
Nakikinig sa taong bayan, hindi takot lumaban.
A three-term lawmaker and human rights advocate.
Marami pong problema ang inaharap ng ating mamamayan hanggang ngayon. Marami pa rin sagot na tinatanong sila. At si Erin Tañada po ay handang magtrabaho para sa kanila.
He comes from a political family who opposed the Marcos regime.
Buhay ang lolo ko, sa panahon ngayon, siya ang mangunguna sa mga issues hinaharap ng ating bansa.
His stand on key issues, addressing the massive water problem and influx of illegal Chinese workers in the country, and a debate over honesty and integrity. Senatorial candidate Erin Tañada joins us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. The senatorial race heats up with the Commission on Elections declining the request of Ocho Derecho candidates to organize a debate against administration bets. One of the members of opposition slate is a former lawmaker at the lower house and a descendant from a political family who relentlessly fought during the martial law era. How will his political name impact his candidacy and also his stand on key issues? Are Chinese workers better than Filipinos? And how does he propose to solve the current water crisis? Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have senatorial candidate and former House Deputy Speaker Erin Tañada. Hi, Erin. Good to see you again.
Hello,
Welcome
Pinky.
to the show. All
Thank
right.
you for inviting.
Water shortage, it made headlines, especially during the weekend. Ang daming taong nakapila, maraming nagalit, maraming nag-apela, hindi daw tama yung advisory, wala daw dumating na tubig. How can you make sense of this? I mean, is this El Nino? Is this lack of preparation? What is it?
Lack of preparation, lack of vision, lack of foresight on how to deal with this. Every year we have this problem on water crisis. The Department of Agriculture, I don't even know if they plan for this, meaning the farmers who are affected by rice tarification now are affected by El Nino. How do they intend to help the farmers? So right now, I think there is a need of whether it's a department, whether it's a task force that will oversee the planning of water utilization in our country.
But who's supposed to be heading this?
Sa ngayon, wala eh. Walang maliwanag eh.
Okay.
Walang maliwanag. Ang meron lang tayo, yung local water utilities law, no? Which talks about the different districts, water districts around the world, around the Philippines. But if you talk about main Luzon, no, wala talagang yung nag-oversee.
Pero
Yan
ano
ang
siya,
problema.
parang interconnected siya, especially with the dams, the water concessionaires, MWSS. Somehow, it's a little confusing on who you're supposed to kind of run to when a situation like this arises. I do have to say this, though, that during my interview with the senatorial candidate Francis Tolentino, he mentioned this. He said there is a need to have a department.
Yes.
And in fact, I'll have to say that among all the candidates I've interviewed, he was the one looking into this issue. Kayo ba sa Ocho Derecho, was anyone really focusing on this as well?
Wala, pero I would say part of my advocacy is how to utilize water resources well. Kasi parati pag umuulan, tinatanong ko, are we reaching the spilling level? If we're not reaching the spilling level, okay lang, papunuin natin yung dam, no? Huminto yung ulan. Or let's say may bagyong dumadating. Ano yung critical area kapag tumaas na tayo, magbubukas tayo ng mga gates. And these are the things that I think kailangan properly managed by a professional. Na tingin ko, hindi lang. Tinitingnan lang natin, pag malakas ang ulan, spilling level, bukas. Kailangan ba magbukas talaga? No? Ito yung mga kailangan hindi. Ang maliwanag ngayon, hindi yata sapat talaga ang tubig para sa Metro Manila.
But if you're saying, let me go back to that, it must be professionally managed. By whom?
I think a department. I would agree with Francis na kailangan merong department na nag-aasikaso dito dahil habang lumalaki ang populasyon natin, mas maraming tubig ang kailangan natin. And tingin ko, dahil lumalaki ang populasyon ng Metro Manila, kulang na ang Lamesa Dam. So, ang nag-feed sa Lamesa Dam ay yung dam natin sa Bulacan, no? Ang GAT. So, bababa yung tubig dyan. So, ito yung problema natin. And ang naririnig ko at ito ay topic rin na malaking diskusyon. Merong planong itayong bagong dam.
Okay.
Sa probinsya namin sa Quezon. And subject to, I think it's part Chinese loans again. And ayaw i-release yung mga dokumento para pag-usapan kung ano yung mga stipulation. Pero merong, I think it's called the Limbangan Dam.
Limbangan Dam?
Yes. Yun yung itatayo. Marami pong mga naninirahan doon. Concerned dahil maraming tao madi-displace. Hindi pa yan pumuputok. Pero puputok yan in the next few days.
So, how would you describe the situation, the shortage, possibly you said the foresight, ng gobyerno, not just, I mean, this government and maybe even the previous governments?
Previous governments. We can even go back to as far as maybe Arroyo's government. Dahil your economy is slowly growing. No? Your population has reached 100+ million already. And so they're supposed to be able to compute the water needs on a per person. That's how specific it should go.
But what do you think can be done now, in the present?
Magtipid ng tubig ngayon. Kasi hanggat, akala ko nga may bagyong dadating last week eh. Nagdadasal lahat, sana dumaan ng konti, pero lumihis.
Yeah.
Importante na magtipid ngayon. Hindi natin alam kung hanggang kailan itong El Nino o kailan yung papasok yung unang ulan. So, ang critical area talaga natin would be April, May.
Special Envoy to China, Ramon Montulfo was a guest on CNN Philippines, and on the record, he said that Chinese workers are basically better than Filipinos. Let's listen to what he said so we can have you react to that.
Yung mga Chinese workers, masipag. Yung mga Pinoy workers, mawalang galang lang, ano. Pag pupunta sa job site, doon lang, saka lang doon sila magpe-prepare ng kanilang mga tools. Whereas yung Chinese, preparado na. Pagkatapos, sigarilyo ng sigarilyo, salita na salita, yung mga Chinese workers, diretso na, walang, at saka hindi sila nag-uusap, talagang trabaho. Pagkatapos, yung mga Filipino, yung mga Pinoy, they take time, their sweet time. Pupunta sa CR, iinom ng tubig, pagkatapos iihi.
Is there merit to what he said?
No, I don't think so. As a matter of fact, it's our skilled workers that are being siphoned out also to other countries. Para sa akin, kung ang problema ni Montulfo mabagal, hindi nagtatrabaho, hindi nag-prepare, supervisory level ang dapat mag-asikaso dyan, hindi yung workers, no? So merong problema tayo sa head ng kung ano man departamento yan. Kung hindi ginagawa yung preparasyon na yung mga kagamitan niya ay nakalatag na sa lamesa, hindi naman kasalanan ng buong Pilipinas yan. Yung head mismo ang magtutok at sabihin, "Uy, gawin natin ito." I would say, those who are working in the construction of condominiums, I believe they're working on time because there are contracts that are stated there that if the condominium project is not delivered by a certain period, may penalty. So, ganun rin dapat yung ating mga gobyerno sa mga naglulunsad ng government projects. Kung yung contractor ay hindi makakapag-deliver, may bond yan eh. Babayaran. So hindi kasalanan ng trabahador ng Pilipino yan.
You know, there have been some people who have expressed their anger and even yung iba disappointment and hurt.
Yes.
I read someone in Twitter na sinabi na yung daddy niya, yung tatay niya construction worker at masakit daw marinig na ganito. Some have actually asked Montulfo to apologize, but he refuses to do that.
Well, that will show how Montulfo is. I've also asked that he he looks up to our workers. There are a lot of buildings that went up here in our country because of Filipino workers. And I believe Filipino workers are one of the best. He can't generalize that all Filipinos are tamad, no? Or all Filipinos take their time in doing their work. I don't think that's correct.
Would this be, of course, pinag-uusapan yung influx ng Chinese workers sa bansa, the Chinese loans, the Philippines, due to the Build project of the Duterte administration. In fact, dahil nga may loans at posibleng dumami pa yung mga Chinese workers dito.
Well, baka he's trying to rationalize for the Chinese. Yun ang mahirap dito. Kung siya ay maging spokesperson, magpalit na ng bandera si Montulfo.
What should he be called?
Well, an apologist.
Okay, there was a Senate hearing about a week ago, or I'd say 2 weeks ago, regarding these Chinese loans. It was headed by Senator Win Gatchalian together with Senator Nancy Binay. Pinag-uusapan ho nila yung loans that pinapasok ng Pilipinas. Questions were on the interest rate of Japan versus the interest rate of China. And then sinabi naman po nung resource persons na hindi naman kasi lahat ng loans pwedeng kunin sa Japan. Kasi hindi nila kaya they can't give out that much money. So kailangan din daw kumuha sa China. Then you have PM Mahathir Mohamad saying that we have to be wary of Chinese loans. Give us your reaction to this.
Well, we have to. There are a lot of examples. Sri Lanka, the port, and I'm sure Prime Minister Mahathir was able to uncover the deals that were made by his previous the previous leader of Malaysia. The question that may be asked, did we ever go to Japan and ask them if they can provide the loans also? Maybe hindi. Gina-justify lang ng finance managers ng ating bansa na hindi kaya ng Japan. I don't think so. Baka hindi lang natin tinanong.
So should we be wary of these Chinese loans?
Of course. We have to, again, we want all contracts published, no, and for the public to know, because we are wary of stipulations on contracts. For example, which a friend of mine disclosed, si Neri. Sabi ni Neri, merong nagbigay sa kanya yung pinirmahan na kontrata with regard to the Chico River project. And dito nakita nga, bakit ka papayag naman na yung arbitration sa bansang China?
Pag nag-default.
Kaya nga. Or there's a misunderstanding. Yung default, if you default, yung patrimonial assets naman ang pwedeng makuha. Bakit naman?
Oh, yeah. That needs to be discussed further because of what you called what was it again? Patrimonial assets of the Philippines na pwede daw allegedly mapunta sa China if we default on our loans. But we're going to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Also, we'll talk about releasing a narco list ahead of the election. Senatorial candidate Erin Tañada will still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senatorial candidate and former House Deputy Speaker Erin Tañada. We have a lot to talk about, but very briefly, yung pinag-uusapan nating patrimonial asset. This was brought up regarding this loan from China regarding the Chico River. However, I heard an interview over DZMM, and the finance, USEC, I believe, Lambino was saying that don't worry about this patrimonial asset dahil ito daw patrimonial asset ay hindi naman siya makukuha kapag nag-default tayo ng loan. Hindi daw ang ibig sabihin nito, this does not cover of public use. Hindi pwede ang eskwelahan, kalsada, lote, etc. Ang pwede lang daw, he says, are seized goods such as cars by the Bureau of Customs and other things. Yun po ang sinabi niya, sir.
Hindi naman patrimonial assets under the Constitution ang seized cars eh. Ang pinag-uusapan natin, patrimonial assets, kagubatan, lupa, mineral resources, yun ang ibig sabihin ng patrimonial assets sa ating Constitution. Kaya importante ma-disclose uli. Kaya hindi namin alam kung bakit ayaw ilabas yung kontrata. Dahil dito natin makikita, ano bang definition nila sa patrimonial assets?
Dapat nakasaad yun.
Nakasaad yun. Dahil sa Constitution, nakasaad kung ano yung ibig sabihin ng patrimony ng ating bansa. So, hindi ako naniniwala na sasakyan yan na foreclose sa Bureau of Customs. Bakit sila kukuha ng sasakyan? Kung taong 2010, 2030 na tayo. Diba?
Lumang-luma.
Lumang-luma na yan.
All right. Also, the ICC, what happens if an investigation is launched and then alis na po tayo ng ICC?
Well, that's why people are saying this is the critical week. A lot is being expected out of the examination. And if a sudden decision comes out that there should be an investigation, then it continues. Even if the Philippines had withdrawn, it continues.
But how can you expect the Philippines to cooperate if you have a government that already claims and says, we've withdrawn? Because in truth, you have to give them 1 year notice, and the 1 year notice lapses in March. However, if you do a little bit more research on this, hindi naman sinasabing from the time you actually file your notice of withdrawal.
Yes. So, and remember, there's still a question, I think, with regard to the Supreme Court. It hasn't come out with its decision whether the Senate has to ratify or not.
Concur, diba? Yeah.
So it's still pending up there. So anything can still happen on the ground.
Okay, the debate, the COMELEC already said that, well, two things. Number one, hindi na mangyayari yung debate. They already told us, even the COMELEC chairman said, mukhang malabo talaga dahil number one, hindi daw magiging fair kasi sa dami ng kandidato, how can they launch a debate of such magnitude? And number two, kulang na daw po sa oras.
Cop out. Hindi ginagampanan ng COMELEC yung mandato nila dahil kung sinasabi nila masyadong marami, pwede naman sabihin ng COMELEC, kayong mga media networks, hati-hatiin natin yung 62. No? Para fair. Yung mga, let's say, 3 kandidato ng 8 dito sa network na ito, 3 kandidato ng 8 dito sa 3 sa kabila. Tapos,
kulang na yun. 9 lang yun.
Hindi. Okay. HNP. Ganun rin. PDP. Divide it. Pwede.
But why would they not do it? I mean, why would you say cop-out?
Para sa akin, dapat ang mandato ng COMELEC para tulungan ng ating mga mamamayan makapili ng tama. And dahil una-una, yung rason na kulang sa araw, we have the whole month of April. Ang CNN nga, naghahanda na rin sila eh.
Yeah, we have our forums every weekend actually, yeah.
Yes, and the big one, I think,
the big one,
after Holy Week.
Yes, which you're going to be part of. So yeah, but you know, they are also, as they say, busy also preparing for the elections.
This is what I'm saying. All what we're asking them is to set the guidelines and then pass it on to the networks. That's why 3 or 4 from HNP, 8 Diretso, PDP, Labor Win, no? 3 network naman yan, 4 na network.
So pwede pa talaga.
Pwede.
Yeah. But again, they already said no to this, so it's really up to the networks right now. You know, there was an exchange of tweet between you and a friend. Is he still a friend?
Of course, he's a friend. He was a colleague.
Senator Angara. Magkasama kayo.
We entered together in the House of Representatives.
Sabay kayong pumasok,
Sabay
di ba?
kami pumasok.
And then, of course, you tweeted, Senator Angara, kasi nga sinasabi niyo na, you know, magpakita siya sa debate, mag-usap kayo. And I'm sure ang gusto mong pagtuunan ng pansin yung train, di ba?
Maraming
and inflation.
Issue. Yes.
And then he goes on to say that, you know, with all due respect, ayan po, excuse me, with all due respect to my friend Sonny, you said this, it doesn't mean that you are a senator. You cannot be questioned by the people on the votes you made and the positions you took as senator. And then he answers and says, parang, you know, hashtag not at my expense. See you in parang nagparinig pa, I'll debate with you in July. Parang ang ibig sabihin niya noon, Congressman, is kung manalo ka. Diba?
Yun nga eh. Pero yung nakakalungkot dito, sasabihin niya na wala raw kaming karapatan makipagdebate sa kanya. Gusto kong sabihin, nagkasama naman tayo sa Kongreso. And it would be a friendly debate, no? Wala bang karapatan ng Deputy Speaker na kumatok at magtanong sa isang senador kung ano naging posisyon niya, bakit siya naging tahimik sa iba't ibang mga issue? Ito yung importante na dapat malaman ng ating taong bayan.
But he says that, hashtag not at my expense, Bards, rise and fall on your own merits. Please, kapit lang.
Meron rin naman akong track record na katulad niya, no? So tingin ko dito natin masusukat nga talaga ang isang Senado kung ano yung posisyon niya sa iba't ibang mga issue, paano siya tatayo, ipaglalaban niya, dahil alam ko, well, I think Sunny, of course, will say no, but he was having a difficult time with Train.
How would you rate his performance?
Because remember, in the sauna of the president, he was
Nagparinig si
singled
Pangulo
out. Gusto mong
sa
sumama?
podium at nandun si Senator Sani
Oo.
Angara sa harap. Yes, I remember that.
Sasama ka ba sa listahan, di ba?
Yeah.
Oh, may
Nagparinig
ganun.
si Pangulo. And how would you, before we go on a break, how would you rate his how would you assess his performance, rather?
Well, he's a good legislator, but there are questions on the positions he's taken with regard to issues that crop up.
Such
For
as?
well,
Top
again,
three.
of course, Train,
Okay.
women's rights, EJK, rice tarification. No, kailangan mahula. He may have voted for it, but is his heart into the law?
Was he 100%?
Yes.
All right. We'll be taking another short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. We're going to talk about what Mayor Sara Duterte said very recently. Hindi na daw magiging makulay ang kampanya. Please stay tuned. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Senatorial candidate and former House Deputy Speaker Erin Tañada. Sabi po ni Mayor Sara Duterte, she will stop her criticisms and tirades against the opposition because her mother told her to stop picking fights and stop bullying the opposition. How do you feel about that?
Well, ngayon, tignan natin kung matapang yung mga senador na lumalaban sa ilalim ng HNP, no? Ng hugpo. Dahil kung ang pinagsabihan na yung pinuno nila, dapat sila na yung magsalita. No? Hindi dapat sila magtago sa side ni Sara.
Do you feel that it's Mayor Sara always speaking on behalf of the HNP candidates?
Yes, and maybe there's also a reason to that. Because maybe they feel that defending the administration's positions on issues will be very difficult for them. Kaya hindi sila nagsasalita.
What do you mean? Baka mawalan sila ng boto to do that?
Baka. No?
But sinabi ho niya kasi to stop picking fights and stop bullying the opposition. Did the opposition feel bullied?
No. We just felt that their leader, their campaign manager was speaking out, but you don't hear anything from the soldiers na tahimik, no? Dahil pabayaan na natin, nagsasalita naman yung bossing di iwanan natin siya.
Okay, top legislation if you win.
Number one, coco levy. The farmers are complaining the price of copra has gone down to around 5 pesos to 12 pesos per kilo, and that translates to less than 2,000 pesos per month. Kailangan magamit na yung coco levy fund na pinangako po ng ating Pangulo nung siya'y nangangampanya. Tapos nung SONA, sinabi rin po niya. Tapos dumaan sa legislative process, may unusual na nangyari. It went to his table, he threw it back, and said that you include these things, which the BICAM did. Unusual process, returned it to him, and then he eventually threw it out. So, kailangan importante na magamit na yan. Bagsak ang coco levy, ang presyo ng ng kopra at naghihirap ang ating mga magsasaka. Pangalawa, usapin ng minimum wage. No, kailangan rin pag-usapan yan. Bakit iba-iba? Is the regional wage structure still the right tool in determining minimum wage in the country? Should we have just one, or should we change the formula? Kasi there are areas, let's say you step out of Metro Manila, wala pang 400, whether Region 3 or Region 4. Kung titigan natin, presyo ng gasolina, nationwide naman, hindi per region, presyo ng bigas, nationwide, presyo ng kuryente, kung minsan mas mataas sa probinsya kaysa sa Metro Manila, and yet there's that unfairness.
May mismatch. Yeah.
Well, unfair yung formula na being used. And then third, importante of course, yung FOI kailangan ibalik, no? Fourth, sa universal healthcare, yung pagtaas ng sin taxes, importante yan para at least mapondohan yung healthcare natin.
And I think that also needs to be talked about because of the universal healthcare and the sin taxes, because there's also that concern about funding the universal healthcare.
Yes, and my friend Sani Angara is sitting also on the tax to the max tobacco.
Yung pangalan ho ba ng Tañada, meron pang advantage?
Sa nakikita ko, depende sa age bracket. Age bracket. Sabi nga ng tatay, sinabi ko sa tatay ko, tinanong sa akin, bakit ka tatakbo ngayon 2019, hindi 2022? Sabi ko, tayo, may kilala sa apelyido natin, senior citizens na. Kung maghihintay pa ako ng 3 taon, mababawasan pa ako ng boto.
Maraming salamat kay Erin Tañada, sir, and good luck to you, of
Maraming
course.
salamat, Pinky.
Maraming salamat. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.